gone. Well, so much of what we will address this afternoon, that is exactly what happens next, is still uncertain. There's one thing that is crystal clear even now, something we should state as fact out of the gate, and it is this. In an arena so often lacking such selflessness and honor, the man who has already pulled our democracy back from the brink once is showing that he is willing to do whatever it takes to do it again. Today, following President Joe Biden's noble, albeit difficult, decision to bow out of the 2024 presidential race, a party that had been 26 hours ago rank with anxiety and unease now appears completely reinvigorated, confident, and firing on all cylinders, transformed. Still restless, perhaps. Many upset about exactly how the last 3.5 weeks went down, but that party is ready nonetheless to unite and to fight and to win. Like a steam-spitting locomotive just beginning to pick up speed, Vice President Kamala Harris is, as we speak, effectively consolidating support ahead of the Democratic National Convention, which is now just weeks away. We know she has a meeting upcoming with leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries on the Hill, and a meeting with campaign staff in Wilmington, in the Wilmington headquarters today. Since President Joe Biden made his announcement Sunday, nearly all of Vice President Harris's potential party rivals have rallied around her, endorsing her, clearing the way for what could be an uncontested nomination. Today, on the South Lawn of the White House, the vice president delivered her first public remarks since President Biden endorsed her for president. And while she didn't speak at all about her candidacy, as this was an official White House event, she did address President Joe Biden's accomplishments. Watch.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. And I am firsthand witness that every day, our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
Attention now shifts, of course, not just to what could be the other half of the Harris ticket, but to the other side, right? The opposition, Trump's team, a team that appeared not just eager for a rematch, but completely designed and built for a rematch with one man, President Biden. Questions about debates and age and cognitive abilities and electability will continue to swirl. They will all be on the Republican side. And this much is certain. It is a brand new day for the Democrats, and perhaps for the country as well. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Democratic strategist, professor at Columbia University, MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle's here. Plus, former senator, co-host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast, Claire McCaskill's here. Also joining us, political strategist, MSNBC senior analyst Matt Dowd is here, and chief political columnist, host of the podcast In Politic for Puck, MSNBC national affairs analyst John Heilman. Let me start by thanking all of you, because on and off TV, your wisdom and your calm and your faith sort of helped me take this chair every day at 4 o'clock for the last 3.5 weeks. So first, to all of you, thank you. John Heilman, I want to start with your reporting from late last night in Puck, and the 3 words that you said everyone was texting you. I think I probably sent you at least one. Take us through what you were able to report.
Well, yeah, I mean, Nicolle, there are a couple things. I mean, I do think that the immediate reaction, you know, when the surprise announcement came yesterday at 1:46 p.m., I guess, you know, there was a wave, obviously, among everybody in the Democratic political class of some combination of the following things, one of which was people were sad, another was that they were grateful, and a third was that they were relieved. And I think that, and that doesn't obviously speak for everybody in the whole broad Democratic tent, but, you know, for the last 3 weeks, there have been a lot of people who are involved in politics professionally in the Democratic Party. And by that, I mean elected officials, congressmen and women, senators, mayors, governors, donors, strategists, and staffers. And by staffers, I mean staffers on Capitol Hill, staffers on campaigns, and staffers in the Biden campaign orbit who had been, you know, as you well know, we've been reporting and talking about for 3 weeks, had been in a state of panic, a state of fear, in some quarters, resentment, anger. All of that melted away the moment when President Biden did what he did, that took this kind of selfless path and did what he did. In the end, concluded what was best for the party and for the best for the country. And you suddenly had people even people who had been screaming over the last 3 weeks, screaming about why is Joe Biden so pig-headed? Why won't Joe Biden do the right thing? Why is he being so selfish? Why is he this? Why is he that? And again, I'm not on their side. I'm not taking sides in this fight. I'm just telling you as a reporter, we all heard this. People who were angry, frustrated, freaked out. All of a sudden they were, as I said, sad. I mean, the sense of like grief in some sense, watching this very good man do this very hard thing, I think hit people, even people who'd been desperate for him to leave 2 minutes earlier, were suddenly hit with the sense of grief over seeing that this was now effectively a guy announcing the end of a long and storied and valiant political career, and also this sense of kind of gratitude for what he was doing, the selflessness of it. And I will say, and you can see it on the faces of people all over television today, from Hakeem Jeffries on down in the Democratic political world, a sense of kind of relief. This great weight of the last 3 weeks kind of lifted off people's shoulders. And at least, even if you thought Joe Biden should have fought it out, to suddenly have clarity about what was going to happen, to no longer be sitting here in a state of suspense. Will he stay? Will he go? Will we continue to tear each other apart? That weight lifted off their shoulders, and I will say it lifted even further off their shoulders as they saw their party rally in such a decisive way around Vice President Harris.
Basil, from working on campaigns, I've always felt that campaigns that win get too much credit for being brilliant, and campaigns that lose get too much blame for being moronic and incompetent. There are often other wins and other factors. And this campaign cycle has been rocked 3 times in 3 weeks by extraordinary events. This debate performance that started this conversation, an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, President Joe Biden's decision to leave the race. Two things have been true, though, through all of it. Vice President Kamala Harris was sort of the first and the calmest voice out of the gate after that debate, saying, not telling us we hadn't seen what we thought we saw, but saying, I'm not going to have 90 minutes shape a record of 3.5 years. Her events on the trail, which have always been excellent, she's an excellent politician, became, you could just tell that she put the Biden-Harris campaign on her back and carried it over the last 3 weeks. The other thing that happened was that Trump gave a speech in which everyone was reminded that, of course, he lost in 2020. He's the opposite. He's not he has a loyalty and a bond between his supporters and him that is something people will study for the next 200 years. But just as a figure on the stump, he is beatable and defeatable, and I think we'll see a contest that makes that very, very clear in the coming days.
I think that's absolutely right. I'll go back to John's point. The word he used was clarity, and I think over the last 25 days, it's been excruciating trying to sort of understand, what's going on in the minds of some of these leaders. What is Joe Biden thinking? How is the party going to move forward? And I think what you have, among other things, is this clarity now. It's a change in the narrative of this race in many ways. And just consider the fact that last night, almost 50,000 black women got on a call and raised $1.5 million. That's double the capacity of Madison Square Garden in one night. In case anyone's asking, the brothers are getting on a call tonight, so there's that. But it's important to note that what voters are feeling is an inflection point, not just in the campaign cycle, but in our country. We've often talked about young voters and where they might be in this election. Young voters, I believe, can see a lot of themselves in Kamala Harris. And so it feels different. There's an enthusiasm there that may not have been there a day ago. And we can see that also with the fundraising totals that have been reached in a day and the record-setting totals there. And just as a quick moment to say about Joe Biden, President Biden. We've often talked about Republicans not putting country over party. In one moment, he did more than most Republicans have done on the Hill in the last 20 years in terms of that very point of putting country over party. And so now, as it looks like Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, is poised to get this nomination, this presidential nomination, it is gratifying, and I think it's a sign of strength that you've seen so many come out and support her so early. That's critical. It helps with the fundraising. It helps with the ground game. It helps as governors are being called to make sure that their delegates are also engaged as we approach the convention. I'm impressed by the speed with which her campaign turned all of this around in their ability to sort of get on the ground running and really have a sprint, not just to the convention, but to the end of this cycle. So every moment is going to be really important for them. And I just think about pride for so many voters that are going to look at her and see themselves in her. This is a long legacy that in many ways started with Shirley Chisholm, who talked about getting on the Chisholm Trail. And it included everyone from, yes, Hillary Clinton, my former boss, but also Senator Carol Moseley Braun and Geraldine Ferraro and so many others. And so it feels like a big inflection point. It is an inflection point. And you see that in everything that's been done over the last 24 hours.
Claire, one of the places where voters make up their mind is deep, deep, deep in their guts. And I know most of this from Matt Dowd, but I also know this from being on the campaign. And one of the most extraordinary contrasts that Joe Biden has given the Democratic side is it's not about me. It's not about any one person. It's about our country. It's about our democracy. And you could have written the most beautiful speeches and told them every day from today till Election Day. But by doing what he did, voters can understand that at a real gut level.
Yeah, this is, we have been saying now for months that this is a campaign about contrast. And what a contrast Joe Biden has provided to the American people. And you have a selfish jerk on one side of the equation that clearly is more focused on himself and his image and people adoring him than he is the people of this country. And then you have Joe Biden, who has done something that will make his legacy legend, literally legend in the history books. It is without precedent that someone at this point in a campaign has taken such a bold step to protect the country. And I think that's how I know that's how the Democrats view it. I think most Americans will view it the same way. And that single act has unleashed what my colleagues have called clarity. I would say it is really unity and a level of enthusiasm that I don't think our party has seen in some time. And it is, my phone has been just as busy today, almost as busy as it was yesterday. But I sense from those elected officials that are on the ballot this fall, they're like, okay, let's go. We can do this. This is all good. And they're very excited to get out there and campaign for this woman. And you see her there hugging and kissing Chris Coons, who is such a good man and is and will always be such a loyal friend to President Joe Biden.
So we should tell our viewers, the vice president is visiting the Biden-Harris presidential campaign headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware, which obviously today becomes the Harris campaign headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware. An important an important piece. Matt Dowd, you and I have worked on presidential campaigns. You leave it all on the field. You pour everything into your candidate and your campaign, and this has been a wrenching 3.5 weeks for them. I heard another word, though. John Hallman talked about grief. I heard that from a lot of people. I also today heard from a lot of people, operatives, advisors, lawyers, donors, who are happy, who are so happy and so excited and so ready to execute a campaign and to.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this race now, it's fascinating to me, and as having done the 2000 Bush campaign, which was a challenger race against an incumbent party, and then the reelect, which is a defensive race, as you and I did, in that. And this race right now had felt before like two incumbents, a former president dominating the Republican Party, a current Democratic incumbent, both aged politicians running against each other, both having some sense of there was some incumbency. Now I think Kamala Harris, actually in reality, even though she's the incumbent vice president, she actually is going to run a challenger campaign, because she is basically going to say, I'm going to take on the big bad guy over there, and we don't have to worry about the liability and baggage that we had 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago. And that, for campaign people, is a much more exciting campaign as a challenger race that makes history, that will fundamentally make history in the United States of America. And I think this race, every poll that was done prior to today, you can throw out the window. And even the polls that people say, well, we put Kamala Harris in the poll, blah, blah, blah. None of that matters right now, because the race has been fundamentally reset. But it's been reset on two things we've been talking about for the last 15 minutes. Two fundamental things reset the race. One, Kamala Harris is now the nominee who could make history by getting elected president of the United States in the course of this. And it's almost going to reframe the race from 2016 that happened, that so many people were disappointed in. That changes the landscape of the race fundamentally. And the Trump people know this, which is why they're scrambling to figure out what they do and who are they running against, why Donald Trump still seems to be running against Joe Biden in the course of this. That changed the race. But also, as Claire and John mentioned, and Basil mentioned, is what Joe Biden did reframed the race. What his act of selflessness sort of woke people up, or woke me up, because I was getting very cynical and saying that, like, does anybody put the country before themselves, like our soldiers do, like other people in America do? Do we have political leaders that do that? Joe Biden did that. And the quote that I thought of when I heard what he had done yesterday was the quote from Willy Wonka, the movie, which was when he puts his hand over a piece of candy and says, "So shines a good deed in a weary world." And that, to me, is what Joe Biden did. It basically is like all our assumptions about selfishness and ego and all of that. In one instance, he proved out that, no, there are people that put the country first. There are servant leaders that do that. And this is direct contrast to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And that's why I don't think they expected this, because they thought we all, Joe Biden and others, think the same way they do, which is you don't put country first. You're a sucker if you're a soldier. You don't ever do anything that's not of self-interest. I didn't think they ever thought that Joe Biden would do this, because that's not how they think. And those two things, Kamala Harris, historic nominee, could be a historic presidency, and Joe Biden's act of selflessness, reframe this race completely.
All right, no one's going anywhere. There's much more to come. We haven't even scratched the surface of the news. We've got fundraising totals. We've got the latest endorsements. So much more to come on this expanded special 3-hour edition of Deadline White House Today, including a closer look at the race shaping up in just a little over 100 days now. The Harris campaign starts today. The donors, the endorsements, everybody behind her, as everyone's been saying. And every second counts, with one eye on getting the party behind her and the other eye on making a plan of attack against the Trump-Vance ticket. We'll talk about all of that over these next 3 hours when Deadline White House continues after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
You've considered buying Balance of Nature long enough. Here is our best discount ever. Get 50% off your first set when you order as a preferred customer and use discount code LOVE. This offer is being extended.
Oh, man, I love a good hotel breakfast.
Same.
Yeah, so close to the stadium. I managed to get the last room for $190.
I booked the last room a week ago.
I booked yesterday. One night, $140.
What?
How?
Some sites panic you into booking their last room, but they don't have all the availability. Instead, use Trivago. Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to $50 a night.
Well, at least I got the last ticket to the game.
So did I.
Hotel? Trivago.
Our biggest challenge? Uncertainty. Hidden fees, surcharges, who knows what to expect.
Turn shipping to your advantage.
Keep it simple with clear upfront pricing.
With USPS Ground Advantage.
Knock, knock. Number one broker here for the number one hitmaker.
Thanks for swinging by, Carl.
No problem. So what are all those for?
This lets me adjust the bass, add more guitar, maybe some drums.
Wow, so many choices.
Yeah, like Schwab. I can get full-service wealth management, advice, invest on my own, and trade on Thinkorswim.
You know Carl is the only front man you need.
Oh, I gotta take this, Carl. It's Schwab.
Schwab.
Have a choice in how you invest with Schwab.
Most people call leaf filter when their gutters are clogged and they notice one of the many issues that can bring. Well, sometimes it's the smell of mildew when water has seeped into the interior walls, or maybe they've spotted mold in the attic. But most often, it's the more obvious signs of damage, like rotten soffit, fascia, or water pooling near their foundation. You can get ahead of costly damage by protecting your home's gutters today. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help.
Schedule your free gutter inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
A structured settlement, and I call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
I have an annuity, but I need cash now.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
It's your money. Use it when you need it.
Call J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now.
Fiverr is a great resource because it gives us access to a wide pool of freelance talent across multiple categories who deliver high-quality results. We've completed over 100 projects on Fiverr, including illustrations, email marketing,
logo creation, designs, press releases, you name it, we've done it on Fiverr.
And it's helped contribute to the expansion of our brand.
Democracy is egalitarian, which means it's for everyone. It means it demands the best of us. It means it's not a spectator sport, but it also, I think, is a divinely inspired gift of our forefathers to show us that we can lead ourselves.
I spoke to the vice president yesterday, shortly after I spoke to the president. You know what we focused on? Defeating Donald Trump. I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. This is a deeply personal decision that the vice president will make. She will make it on her own timetable and her own timeline. She needs to choose someone that she's prepared to govern with, campaign with, and someone that she feels most comfortable with. And that decision should be made free of any sort of political.
Sir, are you interested in the job?
I'm focused on doing my job here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, one of the handful of names on everybody's short list. Of course, the decision for running mate will be Vice President Kamala Harris's and hers alone. But that is one of the people that folks are talking about. Basil, Claire, Matt, and John are back with us. Claire, Speaker Pelosi also out with an endorsement of the vice president today. Just tell us a little bit more about how this happened and your understanding of the final hours and the final days of conversations between Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Leader Jeffries and President Joe Biden.
Well, I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and even Nancy Pelosi, to some extent, were really working quietly behind the scenes just to make sure that Joe Biden understood what it felt like to other Democrats that were going to be on the ballot. These are people that are facing the electorate And I think from the Senate side, there was particular concern about the gap between Democratic senators in swing states and where Joe Biden was about a week and a half, 2 weeks after the debate. So they brought that data respectfully to him and asked him to think about it. They were merely forwarding the concerns of their members, which is their job. And then I think what really happened over the weekend was the campaign itself had asked for data, had actually gone out and done polling. And I think his two closest aides, Steve Ricchetti and Mike Donilon, sat down with him with that information on Saturday and over the weekend. And they looked not only to see that they were losing ground in the battleground states, but the other states were actually seeing movement that was very troubling. States that had gone from being slightly purple to pretty blue over the last few cycles. Places like New Mexico, New Jersey, Colorado, Minnesota, Virginia. These were all New Hampshire. These were all places that, frankly, the Biden campaign had seen as safe. And all of a sudden it appeared they might not be. And I think that that's when the president realized, I need to do this so that the values that our party cares about and the country I love so dearly is led by someone who will do the right thing instead of someone who has demonstrated over and over they only know how to do the wrong thing.
And with that sort of understanding, let me show you what Joe Biden was able to turn that, what had to be painful moment or moments on Saturday into. This is leader Hakeem Jeffries today.
And let me say this, that Vice President Kamala Harris has excited the community. She's excited the House Democratic Caucus, and she's exciting the country. In terms of my Republican colleagues, former President Donald Trump and extreme MAGA Republicans are having a meltdown right now, a complete and total meltdown. Why? Because their presidential nominee is unpopular. The extreme MAGA Republican policies are unpopular, including trying to impose a nationwide abortion ban on the American people, and their Project 2025 is unpopular. They're having a meltdown right now. All we want to do as Democrats is have a debate about moving the country forward and continuing to put people over politics.
So, Basil, there are a lot of things that are extraordinary about Kamala Harris. All indications are that she will be the nominee. One of them is the bumper sticker writes itself. That never happens in campaigns. But prosecutor meet felon. I mean, here we go, day one.
Here we go. And, you know, for years, since she, you know, the ticket needed to be elevated in a way that, unfortunately, in many ways, was being attacked. I've talked about it, written about it, but what is gratifying to see is that everyone, and everyone on this today has talked about this, that there was such a rallying around her, and that all of the things that people may have talked about as being potentially negative, her being a prosecutor, is now front and center. That talent, that skill set is now front and center in being able to prosecute a convicted felon who's a recidivist, who is actually is going to be standing across from her. And it changes the whole dynamic, changes the whole narrative. And I just want to say this quick point, that she's going to be attacked on policy. She's going to be attacked on immigration and migrants and crime and all of these things. But we also have to be careful and be mindful, I should say, of the fact that there are going to be two levels to this criticism. One is going to be a policy criticism, but one is an ad hominem criticism that's just below that. So if they're going to attack her on migrants and immigration, but they're also going to start attacking her on her own ethnicity, being of a child of Jamaican and South Asian parentage. She's going to be attacked on the economy, but in sort of underneath that, she's also going to be attacked on whether or not she earned the job that she has and is prepared to get the job that she's campaigning for. We've already seen those attacks. The New York Post called her the DEI president. We have already also seen attacks on her gender. If you listen to the way some are talking in some of the social media that's talked about the way she laughs, the way she dresses. You know, I've seen that before and up close working for Hillary Clinton. So these racialized and gendered attacks are coming, and have already started. And I have always been concerned that those who were asking Joe Biden to step down, I hope they use that same energy to defend Kamala Harris should that time come. Well, the time has come. And so as everybody's unifying politically, and as the money is coming together, just remember that there has to be this really strong defense of her and of the ticket coming.
Basil, say more about what that defense looks like. I saw that, I think Elon Musk amplified that smear about DEI. Just, can you say more about, because I think the people that smear are on the other side. The people that want to defend may not know exactly how to do that the most effectively. Can you give your thoughts on how that's done?
The most important thing, in my view, is the one defense that I think covers all of it. When people say, I'm not sure if a black woman can win, you stop it right there. The biggest challenge is the doubt. That doubt as to whether or not the country is ready. I don't know if the country's ready, but I'm going to cast my ballot. You have to cast your ballot. She's ready, you have to be ready. If she didn't think she could do it, she probably wouldn't. So if she's at that place, you have to be at that place also. So to me, the first defense against all of this is the seeding of the doubt and to get rid of that. But secondly, and very quickly, listen, I think this country has already proven that it can elect women to top offices, New York, Michigan, elsewhere, even her home state in California, where she was elected senator. Claire McCaskill, for example, is a shining example of women being able to get elected to higher office. So we've got a precedent, we've got a history. We just have to point to each other and engage and organize together. I mean, that is the strongest defense.
Can you also turn it around? I mean, I would say I don't think the country's ready to elect its first convicted felon.
I hope not. I mean, yeah, I think you could turn it around, but I also think if you're going to turn it around, just be sharp and pointed. I don't think we have time. I don't think Democrats have time to try to not to talk just about democracy, although that's important. You got to go right at Donald Trump. You got to go right at J.D. Vance. This is not a time for the gloves to be on. They have to be off. You've got to hit them hard and directly. We just don't have the time to be explaining. When you're explaining, you're losing. You've got 108, 109 days left. This is a time for a hard-hitting campaign. As was said before, Donald Trump was not ready for this. So if he's knocked on his heels, just continue to knock him down.
All right, I love this conversation. No one goes anywhere. Up next, we'll add to our merry gang a congressman from Vice President Harris's home state of California who worked with her when she first ran for president. We also expect to hear from Vice President Harris again shortly as she makes her way to Wilmington campaign headquarters. We'll be right back.
On Chewy, save 35% off your first order when you shop all the brands your pet loves. With selection for any pet, with any diet, Chewy has a taste for every tummy. All right at your fingertips. All the brands they love to devour. At prices you love to pay. Delivered fast, right to your door. With Chewy, make mealtime delicious every time. For low prices and fast shipping, for life with pets. There's Chewy with everything.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary obligated to act in your best interests.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a transparent fee structured so we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
When you buy or sell your car exactly how you want with Car Gurus, you might begin to wonder, what if you could do things your way all the time?
Dream, 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 dream. Dream, dream, dream when I want you in my arms.
Some dreams do come true. Get your car your way. Get it with Gurus.
Super Beets, America's original and #1 selling beet brand for heart health support, is now available at Walmart. More cardiologists recommend Super Beets for heart health support than any other beet brand. So head to Walmart and try Super Beets Heart Chews today.
I always wanted to know why I am the way I am. My curiosity led me to Ancestry. It was amazing to see all the traits that I've gotten from my mother in my DNA. It's a family thing.
It's a family thing.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan cannon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
At Care.com, it's easy to get a break, even if you're not on summer vacation. Join millions of families who've trusted us and find care in your area for kids, seniors, pets, and homes. All from background-checked caregivers, rated and reviewed by people like you. That's hours and hours of goofing around. Hundreds of lovely afternoons. Mile after mile of WALKs and acres of expertly cleaned floors. Go to Care.com now to find the care you need this summer.
Custom Ink helps us motivate our students with custom gear. We love how Custom Ink takes care of everything we need so we can focus on the kids.
Custom Ink has hundreds of products to help you feel connected. Upload your logo or start your design today at customink.com.
With Cascade Platinum Plus, I have upped my dish game.
See, in that dishwasher.
Watch me.
Platinum Plus gives you the highest standard of clean, even in your machine.
Clean enough for you?
Yeah.
Scrape, load, done. Cascade Platinum Plus.
I'm out here telling people how they can save money with Experian. With subscription cancellation, you can be saving $270 on average a year.
Say less. I'm thinking girl math. You'll buy a pair of shoes with that.
That's what we're talking about.
Get started now with the Experian app.
And as we embark on this campaign, I will tell you this. I am not perfect. Lord knows I am not perfect. But I will always speak with decency and moral clarity and treat all people with dignity and respect. I will lead with integrity, and I will speak the truth.
That was then Senator Kamala Harris announcing her run for the White House back in January of 2019. 5 years later, that message of hope and honesty and integrity certainly feels like a breath of fresh air in a country that has, and in a party, frankly, that has spent the last 3.5 weeks in crisis mode. A country desperately looking for a voice to defeat a wannabe dictator. Our next guest was on the front lines with then Senator Harris as she made her initial run for the White House back in 2019. Now he's a member of Congress, Robert Garcia of California. He knows her well. The two spoke yesterday. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Tell us what Vice President Harris's sort of to-do list looks like on a day when not just the political world was upended in a single letter, but potentially the future of our democracy.
Well, I mean, first, she's already doing it. I just spoke to the vice president last night, actually. She feels great. She's motivated. She's focused on uniting the country. And she's going to do what she's always done, which is prosecute the case against her opponent. She understands that Donald Trump is a danger to democracy. She's taken on big banks, corporate polluters, and she's going to take on Donald Trump. And what you're seeing the party do right now is coalesce around a candidacy and a person who represents the future of our country and the future of our party. And what you're seeing also is the vice president now going out, as you know, to Delaware today, meeting with campaign staff, organizing delegates. Her team is out, as you know, raising enormous amounts, groundbreaking amounts of money. And it's really important right now for Democrats, the country, people that want to keep this democracy strong, to rally around the vice president. She is going to defeat Donald Trump.
We covered her campaign. I remember covering that event. I think John Heilman, who's also on here, was at that event. She has always been electric on the campaign trail, but she seemed to turn it up a notch over the last 3.5 weeks. Do you have any sense of what the last 3.5 weeks have been like for her?
Well, I think we've all seen the last 3.5 weeks for her. She has been nothing but loyal to the president. She's been out there defending the president, standing by his side. She has been strong. I had a chance also to communicate with her during that time. And I know that her main focus was supporting Joe Biden. And she's done that the entire time. And if you look at the record that she's been able to build with him on infrastructure, on lowering the price of insulin, on supporting students, on fighting for women's reproductive health care, those are the issues that she'll continue to focus on as president, while also adding what we all know to be the core of Kamala Harris. She's always focused on her campaigns being about for the people. She's in this for the people. She used to say when she was Attorney General that her main client was always the people. She did the same when we got her elected to the U.S. Senate in my home state of California. And she'll continue to do that work in this campaign. And so we've got a 100+ day sprint. We are all in. You better believe the state of California. I mean, I was home this last weekend. People are fired up. Just seeing folks yesterday, folks that know her well, that have worked with her for years, for decades. We are all in and excited for the rest of the country to get to know the Kamala Harris that we know, to get to know her kindness, her brilliance, her toughness, and we're excited for her to take on Donald Trump.
Knowing her personally, how do you think she'll approach sort of her first most important decision, and that is her pick of a running mate?
I am confident that she is going to pick, first and foremost, someone that's ready to be president and someone that is a good governing partner for her. I think, obviously, because she has been vice president, she understands the seriousness of this choice and how important having a governing partner and someone that is ready to step in is critical to a team. She's also learned from the best. She has had Joe Biden, who has also been vice president, and she was able to serve for him. So I am sure that not only will she seek counsel from President Biden, but she will use her own experience as vice president.
I think everybody on the list has endorsed Vice President Harris, and with the exception of Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, hasn't ruled out considering serving if tapped. Your thoughts on, and you've covered Kamala. Am I right? Were you at that event? I feel like you covered that for the circus. I know the event was, yeah, you were there, right? Go back to the event, the last campaign she ran, and how she'll approach this pick of a number 2.
Wow. Well, I mean, look. I mean, it's just injecting. You know, look. I've known Vice President Harris for a long time, and I've known her long before she ran for president. I knew her when I lived in San Francisco, and she was on the rise as a politician there, and eventually became Attorney General. So I've seen her in a lot of different settings. To start with, Nicolle, I would say that that speech, if we're being honest about it, the speech that began her campaign for president in 2020, which was an extraordinary event in Oakland, and I think 30,000 people were there. It was a vast turnout, and she killed it that day. And I think that most people who were involved in that campaign, and I think probably Vice President Harris would say that was the high point of the campaign for her. You know, she was a troubled presidential candidate. She never actually got a single vote. She dropped out of the race before the Iowa caucuses, and I think that has been part of her evolution, has been to have looked back and have studied that race and have tried to learn from it. And so I think, you know, look, there's nothing like the choice. She's learned, I think, a lot of things. First of all, let's pause on that. I think this is a person who's learned a lot from each of her races as she's gone along. And that failure in that campaign, which is what it was, and what a lot of people point to say she's not a great political athlete when people want to criticize her, I think that that's wrong. And I think that part of the reason why she's grown in the way she has in the vice presidency, particularly on the political front, has been things that she learned from the mistakes that she made in that campaign. So, to your question, I think there is only, and I think that the Vice President Harris and the people around her recognize this, there is only one criteria that matters for the selection of a running mate, and that is the person ready to be president on day one, and will they be perceived to be ready to be president on day one? That's the substantive and the political, and they're the same. If you fail in that, it's a disaster. And you know, You know, Nicolle, from your experience on the McCain campaign, what happens if you pick someone who's not perceived from day one as being ready to be president? That becomes a horror show. So if you get that right, you are 95% of the way there. And then you've got a bunch of talented Democrats here, some of them in battleground states, like Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, like Senator Kelly in Arizona. You have a bunch of people to pick from. And I don't want to leave anybody out. There are others, obviously Cooper, Whitmer, there are other people. But I'm saying that there are a bunch of Democrats who are in important strategic states. But the most important thing, and I think she knows this, is that you have to pick someone who you can credibly make the case, this person can be president tomorrow or the day after I become president. If I'm incapacitated, they can take over and run the country. You got to be able to convince voters of that. And if you can do that, you're, as I said, 95% of the way home.
And people who have been vice presidents usually nail this part of the job. I want to bring Claire and Matt in on something else John Heilman said. I have to sneak in a quick break first. We'll all be right back.
Tonight, on the heels of President Biden stepping down as the presumptive Democratic nominee and endorsing Vice President Harris, Rachel Maddow and team break down what's next for the Democratic Party. Special coverage tonight at 8 on MSNBC.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
Let's take a little test together. Which looks better, this or this? This or this? Seems clear to me. Saving cash wins every time, which is why you'll love the Wise Buy sales event going on right now at America's Best. Get 2 pairs of single vision glasses for just $69.95 or 2 pairs of progressives for just $129.95. Both offers include a comprehensive eye exam. That's not just a better deal, it's America's Best. Book an exam online today.
The Keepsake Frames app makes it ridiculously easy to frame your favorite photos. Just choose a photo that you love, select the perfect frame, and you'll have your framed print delivered and ready to hang. Download the free Keepsake Frames app and start framing today.
You've considered buying Balance of Nature long enough. Here is our best discount ever. Get 50% off your first set when you order as a preferred customer and use discount code LOVE. This offer is being extended.
The promise of America is freedom, equality. But right now, those pillars of our democracy are fragile, and our rights are under attack. Reproductive rights, voting rights, the right to make your own choices and have your voice heard. We must act now to restore and protect these freedoms for us and for the future, and we can't do it without you. We are the American Civil Liberties Union. Will you join us? Call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today. Your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, will help ensure that together we can continue to fight for free speech, liberty, and justice. Your support is more urgently needed than ever.
Reproductive rights are on the line, and we are looking at going backwards. We have got to be here, and we've got to be strong to protect those rights.
So please, join the ACLU now. Call or go to myaclu.org and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty for just $19 a month. When you use your credit card, you'll receive this special We the People t-shirt, member card, magazine, and more to show you're part of a movement to protect the rights of all people. For over 100 years, the ACLU has fought for everyone to have a voice and equal justice. And we will never stop. Because we the people means all of us. So please call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today.
What qualifies you to be Commander-in-Chief?
Well, first of all, let me just say I love my country. I love my country. And this is a moment in time that I feel a sense of responsibility to stand up and fight for the best of who we are. I am a career prosecutor, as you said. My entire career has been focused on keeping people safe. It is probably one of the things that motivates me more than anything else. And when I look at this moment in time, I know that the American people deserve to have somebody who is going to fight for them, who is going to see them, who will hear them, who will care about them, who will be concerned about their experience and put them in front of self-interest.
We're all back. Claire, not just is she going to face off against a felon, but she's been leading that fight on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration since Donald Trump's Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Just talk about her skill set in that fight as well. Hello, whoever's dog said hi.
Yes, hello to the doggy. She is well suited for what I think will end up being the issue of this campaign. And you can tell it's the issue of the campaign by the way the Republican Party treated it during their convention. They want this to go away. They think women of America and the men who care about them are going to forget that a basic freedom was stripped from them, that women are facing health crises because of what Donald Trump did, what his Supreme Court did that he is very proud of. And she gets this. She gets it in her bones. She knows that this is something that is motivating. She knows it motivates Republicans as much as it does Democrats, as much as it does independents. And, you know, the contrast here, Nicolle, J.D. Vance had a chance just a few months ago to vote to protect IVF and to vote to protect contraception in the United States Senate. And he voted no on both. He voted no on protecting IVF. That's how warped the Republican Party has become around this issue. So she's going to take this to the streets, and she's going to hammer it, and she's going to do it well. And one thing about being a prosecutor, when you're in a courtroom, there's no script, folks. You don't know what the witness is going to say. You don't know what issue is going to come up. She knows how to think on her feet. I watched her do it in committee hearings time after time, where she could take what information she was given and turn it and pivot and punch in a way that made the point and landed it clearly and cleanly. That's what she's going to be able to do. That's why I predict Donald Trump will look for an excuse not to debate her.
Well, Matt Dowd, in Donald Trump's mind, his whole brand is about projecting what we all know to be phony strength. But strength, how does Donald Trump not do 5 debates? What is he afraid of Kamala Harris?
Yeah, he is afraid of Kamala Harris. I mean, I think that's the reality. And he should be in the course of this. I mean,
taking down the likes of Bill Barr and others. We'll also look at how the shakeup has left the other side, Trump's campaign, absolutely flat-footed and scrambling. We'll talk about that. And we're still expecting to hear from Vice President Harris within the hour. Much more news to come. Don't go anywhere.
Fiverr. Find the right freelance service right away. So that's how they're growing so fast.
Yeah, I imagine they had way more employees than we do.
I mean, look at the number of projects.
Look at that frozen yogurt tab.
Digital marketing, AI experts, web design.
Raspberry mocha swirl. Unbelievable.
Should we try that?
I wish. I can't really digest dairy.
Grow your business with freelancers. Fiverr.
You've got too much on your plate to worry about what to put on it next. That's where we come in. We're Factor, your one-stop shop for fresh, fully prepared meals. packed with premium ingredients, and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes flat. Did we mention delivered right to your door? Yeah, we got that covered too. Looks like eating well just got a whole lot easier.
Visit factormeals.com/peacock50 and use code peacock50 for 50% off.
Introducing MSNBC Premium on Apple Podcasts. Get early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping original podcasts, exclusive bonus content, and new episodes of The Rachel Maddow Show and Morning Show ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
When I was working in the Senate, I didn't realize that it's the perfect training for the job that I have now, covering government, covering politics. The complexity of it all. You learn how to explain that and how to live through that when you work in this building. Mastering the detail is crucial to being able to present anything that happens in Senate buildings like this or any of the other news centers that we have to focus on every day.
Our democracy is on the ballot. Truly. Democracy, incredibly fragile. It will only be as strong as our willingness to fight for it. We have more on the line now than we have had in recent memory in terms of fundamental rights.
Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in the East. President Joe Biden may have stepped away from the 2024 presidential race, but what is at stake remains exactly the same: American democracy. President Biden's endorsement to succeed him, his vice president, Kamala Harris, has for years now articulated and stressed